This is the view from our balcony.
My daughter went to home too, and she I'm hoping that I think she's got it all down, so when she's traveling. She was left out with the weather. I see that from I was in DC, so I oh my gosh! And they don't live too far apart, so that she does get. My sister, she can run over and pick him up.
As soon as it hits the beach, you're going to look to the right, and there's a large white house with 4 columns. That is not one of the Kennedy houses. That house is owned by a Mr. John Wilson. Mr. Wilson was the ex-CEO of the Gap, Old Navy,
Oh my goodness.
and Banana Republic. He bought that house about 16, 17 years ago for $6 million from a gentleman named Mr. Joe McCarthy. And Mr. McCarthy was instrumental in the startup of Motel 6 operations. When Mr. Wilson bought that property 16, 17 years ago maybe, the first thing he did, he wanted to put a new kitchen in. So he went and did that at the cost of $1 million for a kitchen. $1 million. So the next thing I want to point out, we're going to go to just to the left of the breakwater, and you're going to see a white house with 3 peaks.
Yep.
See the 3 peaks?
Yep.
That is Joe and Rose Kennedy's house. They bought that in 1928. It was a little bit smaller then, but as their family grew, they had 9 kids. As the family grew, they increased the size of the house. It got up to about 9,000 square feet. When Rose Kennedy, she lived there until she died. She was 104 years old. She lived in that house. She absolutely loved it. But before she died, she wanted to make sure it stayed in the family. So she sold it to her son, Ted, Senator Ted Kennedy, for $1. So it stays in the family trust right to this day. Now, we're gonna try and fight the haze a little bit, but I think you can make it out. Of that house with the 3 peaks, and to the left of the house with the 4 columns. Set back a little bit, there's a 2-story gray house with a white chimney. That was the house of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, his wife Jackie, and their family, all their kids. This is where they had their summer home. He built that back in, or he bought it back in while he was still senator before he became president.
Abbots. And the generosity of the Abbots of putting in that wonderful reception. It was a great experience and very exciting, so we want to thank you very much. One of the things I wanted to say is that at this stage of our youth, it is very important for us to maintain our sense of humor.
Yeah.
Particularly making fun of ourselves. As a fellow that was retired and decided he wanted to work part-time, went to Walmart to be a Walmart greeter, and they put him in a room and said, "You got to fill out this application." And he filled out the application, and when he got to the part that said, "Who should we call in case of emergency?" and he smiled and he wrote down 911. So we call that self-defecating humor. No, that's not right. Self-deprecating humor. And so, because my memory has gone back to 1961, I have to take some notes. And there was just a few things I wanted to say about humor. My mother, who was living in assisted living in Florida, had called me up one day and she said, "Jim, you'll never guess what happened to me." And I said, "What's that, Ma?" She says, "Well, I was sitting on the side of my bed in the morning and I felt this funny thing in my mouth and I reached out and all of a sudden 3 of my front teeth fell out into my hand." I said, "Really?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Well, Ma, what did you expect? You're 93 years old. You expect those teeth to last 100 years? And she laughed. She thought it was so funny because of the fact that she had a great sense of humor. And then there was Jan's dad. One day she went into the bathroom and she saw his picture when he was about 20 years old pasted on the mirror in the bathroom. She said, "What, Dad, why is that picture of you when you were 20 years old with your crew cut and you were wearing glasses on the mirror in the bathroom?" He said, "Because every time when I went into the bathroom and looked in the mirror, I got tired of looking at that old man." Self-deprecating humor. And then one time we were sitting around the kitchen table in Jan's family's house, and as we were speaking, her dad wasn't responding because he didn't hear anything we were saying. And she said, "Dad, don't you have your hearing aids in?" And he said, "No." He said, "Well, where are they?" He said, "In the bedroom." "Well, go get them." So he sauntered in the bedroom, he came out, and he had the hearing aid in his hand, palm, and he held it out, and he said, "You see, there it is. Got that little sharp thing in the end, and it sticks in my ear, and it hurts, and this other end, it's got this little wire, and it tickles, and frankly, it's a pain in the ass." And I said, "Well, Charlie, that's the problem. You're putting it in the wrong place."
True story. True story.
Oh, he said, "Now I know where my suppository is."
Yep.
That's the self-defecating humor.
Yep.
And when Jan and I ride together, as we do all over the Triad in North Carolina, we do a lot of riding in the car, and people will come up and say, "Well, you guys are together so much. Who does all the driving?" And I said, "Well, let me put it this way. I'm behind the wheel." And finally, we have a little dog, and he's a cute little Yorkie, lovely little guy. And I said, "I want to name this guy." I named him Brady, after my, and I hope your favorite quarterback.
Yeah.
I couldn't name him Tom because that's for cats, you know. And so people will come to visit us, and they'll see Jan sitting in the recliner all comfortable, and Brady all wrapped up next to her, and they're just all snuggled, and I'll say to them, "You see that dog?" And they say, "Yes." I said, "That used to be me." So we're going to do some open mic now, Steve.
Yes.
And I want to call Don Bly. Is he here? Because Don has a neat story to tell us, so we're going to start out with him.
Junior high, on graduation day or our last day of school. All those cars, you know, going around in a caravan sort of. And I was one of the last guys out, and I was afraid I'd missed it all. And there was Wally Carlton with his car, and there was Deb. She was there, and they had room for me. So it was a Chevrolet. It was a convertible, and we had a great time. Remember thinking back when you're in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, will we ever make it to the point where we get to be in that caravan of cars? And sure enough, the day finally came, and it was great.
Right.